First, let's pay homage to the Venerable Monk Liao Ming, homage to Master Sakya Chengkong, homage to His Holiness the 16th Karmapa, homage to Master Dubdan Darji, homage to the three jewels of the altar, and homage to the main deity of ceremony Homa today, the Gurukule Buddha Mother of the 10 directions. Simu, Tutan Siti Rinpoche, all Dharma masters, Dharma educators, Dharma teachers, Dharma instructors, Dharma assistants, directors of temples and chapters, disciples present here and over the internet, and our participating VIPs today, the Chief Secretary of the Taiwan government, Mr. Zheng Peifu and Mrs. Zheng, the Mayor of Changhua City, Mr. Chiu Jianfu, a council from Tainan City, Mr. Cai Wangquan, and from Zhongshan Medical College Affiliated Plastic Surgery Department, the head of the department, Dr. Zheng Senglen, and Tribute School Scholars Group and Medical Group. And the law advisor to Tribute Foundation, Ms. Jennifer Zhou, and from Taichung City, the Qingshui District, the Farmers Alliance Superintendent, Ms. He, from the U.S. Goldstone Entertainment Company, the Executive Director, Mr. Lin, and from the Jingyi Enterprise, the General Manager, Ms. Zhang,
my university same classmate, Zhu Jinshui 先生及夫人陈哲霞女士
Mr. Zhu Jinshui and Mrs. Zhu, the President of the Lotus Light Charity Society Worldwide, Master Chang Ren, and Director of the Taiwan Area Lotus Light Charity Society, Mr. Li Chunyang, and producers for Guinea Diansang Xindeng of CTI TV Taiwan, Mr. Becca Xiaqi, and producers for the Great Perfection Dharma Maharaja Exposition and Development Stages of Tantrayana, the producers Master Lien Yun, and the host Dharma Sister Pei Jun. And the host to Lamdre and the Sutra of Perfect Enlightenment, Master Lien He, Master Lien Jia, and Master Lien Hai.
My sister, Lu Shengmei 女士
Miss Lu Shengmei,
Lu Guoyin 女士 and her husband.
Miss Lu Guoyin and husband. And thank you to Dharma Sister Yi Chaoning for her donation of 100,000 NT dollars. Good afternoon, everybody. How do you do?
Thank you for coming. Kamsahamnida. Sawadika. Nomo konnichiwa. Good afternoon. Going. Te quiero mucho. 사랑해, 아이스테루. 大家新年恭喜，新年快乐 ，Happy New Year！
Happy New Year, everybody!
想到这个咕噜咕噜国母的话，想起一个笑话。
Thinking about Gurukule Buddha Mother's Dharma, I thought of a joke that has been told long ago. A wife asked her husband, "So, dear, before we got married, when we were dating, you always told me that your heart beat very fast, like the deer that's been jumping around. But how about now that we have gotten married? Is your deer still jumping all over?" But the husband replied, "No, the deer is dead." So Gurukule Buddha Mother is a magnetizing deity, a very famous one. And in our True Buddha school, we have Gurukule Buddha Mother and Ragaraja. And they are both magnetizing deities, so that we love and respect each other and live in harmony. So in Buddhist families, everything should be harmonious and auspicious, so that we live happily ever after, forever. So this Gurukule Buddha Mother, her root and origin is Amitabha, Tathagata, Amitabha Buddha. In Tibetan Kagyu school or sect, she is considered to be a secret deity. And this deity is very famous and popular in Tibetan Tantayana, with 4 arms, and she looks like a 16-year-old girl, and her face is smile with anger. It's very difficult to describe, but you would know. Like in a family, when the husband wants to go out by himself at night, but the wife would say, "Sure, do what you like, but remember to come home at night." And some men, hearing that, didn't want to go. So what's wrong about the husband going out by himself at night? Because human beings are free. And the wife would say, "Why not? Your feet are on your body. Your hands are with you. You can just open the door and leave." She would say, "You are free. I never control you."
请吧，请吧。
Go ahead.
这个口气就是有点
But the tone of her sound
含笑带怒。
is like that angry smile.
这个令这个老实的老公啊，
So
要出去
for the
也不行，
good husbands,
要在
they
家
would feel
也不行，
that
他不知道
may
如
not
何是
be a good idea to
只好
go out, but it's not
到
so
床上
good
睡觉。
to stay home either, so he ended up sleeping,
因为他的4个手背啊，咕噜咕噜
going to the
4个
bedroom.
手背，
Because Guru Guli Buddha
一只
Mother
手
has
啊
4
就持着弓
arms, and one of her hands
啊，一个
is
弓。
holding a
哦，这是
bow.
箭。
No, that's an arrow.
我讲唔对，还是嘛，
I
年
said
纪
it
大一点
wrong.
都会有口误。
As an elderly,
这是
sometimes
花箭，
we say the
花
wrong
箭。
thing. That's a flower arrow, or arrow made of
一
flowers.
只手持着弓，
And one of the other hands is holding a bow.
一只手啊
And
是
one
持着
hand
金刚钩，
is holding the
金刚钩
Vajra hook,
这个钩印。
the
一
hook
只手是持着锁印，锁
gesture.
就拿着绳
And
索
the other hand is
锁印
holding a
4个
lasso,
手背
or forming the lasso
16岁的
mudra.
妙
So
龄
with 4
貌
arms.
上
And
身是红色，
16
下
youthful
身是
girl,
皮琴，
and
脚
red
踩着
in
大
her
自
upper
在
body and lower
大自
body
在
wrapped in
的
tiger
天
skin,
后啊，
and the
跟
feet,
这个
the
大自在
foot
天
is
王跟天后
stepping on Mahaswara and the
她的
consort.
造型是这个样子，前身呢
So
有
that's
红
how
色
she
的火
looks.
光
And around her, she was enveloped by a blazing
这一
red
尊
fire.
也就是图登达
And
底
this
上师
deity
啊，图登达底上
was
师
the
的啊，我的根本
Yidam
上师图登达底上师的本尊。
of my lineage root guru, Master
这一尊
Duptan
有什么作
Dorji.
用啊？它的作用才大。刚刚已
And
经
what
提到了，
functions
在我讲的
does
时候
this
啊，已
deity
经
have?
提到了啊，
It's
回
really
向的时候
tremendous, as I mentioned in
第
my
一个，
merit
它有
dedication.
4个试验，
She has 4 vows. One is the
让
earth
所有
vow.
修他法的人
So all
得到富足
of
的
her
美
Dharma practitioner
富有啊。
would be endowed with abundances.
那大家想想看，世界上
So
最
think
贵
about
的
it.
东西来自于哪里？
The most expensive things in the world comes from
你
where?
房子
From
也
the
是
earth.
地，
Your house is also
你
the
买
earth.
卖土地也是地，
Your
房
real
地
estate
产全部都是
properties,
地。
they're all about the earth.
最贵的东西
And the most expensive stuff, diamonds,
哪里出来的？也
where
是地。
do they come from? The earth.
你的五谷杂粮、农业、
And
工业、
all your grains
一切
and
的
food,
医药、电子，
industrial
所有的金银铜
items,
铁，
medicals,
全部
metals,
来自于大地。
all come from the earth.
所以大地呀，本身是最富足的。
So the great earth is the most abundant.
所以这个他有这个地的试验，
So she
赐给你
has
一
the
切
earth
荣耀
vow to bestow you with abundances of
Yeah.
everything. Second,
他有水的试验，
she has the water
你
vow.
修他的法，
By
他可
practicing
以
her
能够
Dharma,
治愈你
she
的
can
84000种病。
cure you of the 84,000 kinds of
这
illnesses.
是他的水的试验。
That's her water
第
vow.
三个
Third
是火的试验
is，the fire vow. so that you live in harmony with perfect love and respect. If you practice this deity, even if you're not elected president in this life, in the next life, you may have the faith for presidency, which is the highest position, because you can attract the hearts of all beings, like a Jupiter holding an arrow. So the Guru Gule Buddha Mother of True Buddha School has the Dakinis of the 10 directions, the Dakini of above, the Dakini below, and the Dakini of the 8 directions. So Guru Gule Buddha Mother of the 10 directions, they're all Dakinis. And the arrows that they shoot would reach all directions. And if you get shot, then you would be her fan. The iron fan, which means a very strong fan that will never abandon you. So a religious figures would have lots of iron fans. They can attract tens of thousands of people to come taking refuge when the true Buddha comes alive in the world. Can attract not just tens of thousands but millions and even more. So during the New Year's, it's best to ask whom? To ask the dog. So how's my luck this year? And the dog would reply, Wang, 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 in Chinese meaning prosperity. So for businessmen, you would have abundance of wealth. If you're an entertainer or a singer or an actor, or singer, then you would have millions of fans. So I often said about Jay Zhou Chao that he never joined the military. We did join military, but not Jay Zhou. And I think I read somewhere why he didn't join the military, because he had some problem with his spine. And his look, sometimes he has just too tiny, like in the 8 characters, mustache. And he's not as handsome as our Master Lian Ya. And he's not as tall as Master Lian Ya. Lian Ya is tall, very tall. So he's not as tall as he is. And he had that long hair that he would flip, and then he would unbutton one of his buttons, and all the girls would become hysterical. So in his past life, he must have practiced Guru Gule Buddha Mother or Ragaraja. That's Jay Chao.
你看，像香港那个刘德华，
or Liu Dehua, Andy Lau from Hong Kong.
哇，他粉丝也是很多的。
He also has lots of fans.
那个从马上跌下来。
This time he fell from a
马上
horse.
跌下来还可以。
It's
马上
okay,
轰就不行。
but not dying
马上
from
跌下来，哎呀，
erection.
受伤。
That's a different
哇，好多人关心
homophone.
啊，师尊也是看他跌
But
得到底怎么样。
everybody was
啊，每天
really cared about it, and also Grandmaster too
自身
was
的医
checking
疗
on
是
his
一种秘
news.
密，你总不能讲他说
And
说
of
他怎么
course,
样，
his treatment
但是
was
实在
kept
是
a
非
secret.
常的轰动，可以讲他一跌
But
倒，
it was quite a sensation, the news. But look at his
久了
look.
你们不知道，
You may not notice after
按照山体
getting
向
so familiar,
上庭啊，
according to the
宽的
face
上庭很宽，
fortune
从额
telling,
头一直
it's
到
divided into 3
眉毛
parts.
叫上庭，
The upper
上庭是
part
代表
is
少
from the
年
top
时
of the head to the
少
eyebrows.
年时候好，
That represents your
少年时
youth.
候好，他上庭就好。
If your youth is good,
就是从
then
鼻
the
尖
upper
一
part
直到
is
眉
good.
毛，这叫中
Then
庭，
from the tip of the nose to the brow, that's the middle part.
叫下庭。
And then from the tip of the nose to the chin, that's
啊，
the
刘德
lower
华的
part.
相貌，我以前在书上写过，
And I have
你应该也
written
知道，
about
书上写
Andy Lau in Grandmaster's book
他能够
earlier
运气这么好，
about his look.
很奇怪，我觉得很奇怪。
And I
他的
found it
心运这么旺，
very
非
strange
常奇怪。
for him to continue to be so popular for so long.
但是有一次我看到这个
But then one
是
time
那个厕所的那个小便斗，
I
小
noticed
便斗马桶，
at the
那叫
urinary
HCG，
it's called HCG.
你要跟我讲唔对呀哦 ，HCG 才是对的。你跟我讲 FB 上面的，
Why did you say FB?
我知道你 FB 啦，
I know what FB is.
对不对？你老是要给我导错方向，
You're always giving the wrong
这个
hint.
小胖子没有办法。我们
That
今年过年哦，
Chubby.
除夕呀，叫慧金坐在这个圆桌的中间。
That
他的头是要
for
像腿那个人
the night
像水
banquet before the New Year,
就不啊，我们不
that
流
we
行
will
这个
ask
老是说
Hui
是
Jin to
鸡
sit
头
in
像
the
水
middle of
我
the
们流行
table.
猪头像水
That there was a tradition in here in Taiwan that they would place
你不相信呐？
the whole chicken on the
你只要
table,
慧
and
金走在前面
whichever the chicken's head is pointing to, that person is
看
would be
他的这个后
fired or laid off.
你就相信我讲的没有错。
So, but Hui Jin, we will not use a chicken's head. We'll use a pig's head,
印尼的湾野湾烫
and
也
we'll
是像它的体型，而且比它还大一号。
and one year one time from Indonesia is even bigger,
它也
from
比它
hers
大一号。
and also Master Lian Hong is much bigger.
我喜欢小
But I
号
don't like the size L. I like the size S.
这个也是一种粉丝啊，一种现象，很奇怪的。
So
你会
that
看到
fans
一个老人家
is also very
80
interesting.
岁了，
Sometimes an elderly
还
man,
娶
18
20
years
岁的
old,
小子，
and he could marry a
相差
20-year-old
60岁
with 60-year difference between them.
那80岁的这个新娘啊，
An 80-year-old groom is holding a 20-year-old bride, and he was trembling. And when he's holding a microphone, it would be like that, and his body is slanted. And yet, a 20-year-old girl was willing to marry him. I'm very envious. And Grandmaster has this problem. Whenever I see a beautiful girl, I would forget that I have been married, that I am married. And then when I see a beautiful girl, I would forget that if I have become a monk. Someone has this problem, has this memory loss, and go to see a doctor, and the doctor asks, "What are you forgetting?" Because whenever I see a beautiful girl, then I would forget that I'm married. And the doctor replied, "Hey, get out of here. I have the same problem that I can't cure." For an 80-year-old man to marry a 20-year-old young girl is practice Gurukuli Buddhamata Dharma. And if you have attainment in this Dharma practice, then even if you're 80, you can marry a 20-year-old. When if you have attainment in Gurukule Buddha Dharma, even when you're short, like Grandmaster, the girls would find you very tall. And you don't look much, but it's short and fat, but people would say, "Oh, you're so handsome." There are many girls that would cry out, "Oh, Grandmaster, I love you." And my heart would beat very fast. Whenever I see Sumo, my heart would also beat very fast. Why? Because she practiced Gurukule Buddhamata. Gurukule is a magnetizing deity. If you want to be elected president or city mayor or King County mayor, county or the presidents of the countries, of the nations, you need to practice this Buddha Dharma. Yesterday, I was upset. I was hurt by Trump because I was listening to his speech. It was really late, after midnight. It was inauguration, the presidential inauguration of the United States. And I was so absorbed that someone like Trump can become a president. I've watched his movie clips, and he's really magnetized. I mean, you would be absorbed by him, whether you like him or not. And don't know how many people. And in Washington, D.C. alone, there were 900,000 people attending his inauguration. And I wanted to listen to his talk. And he said, business, he wished that all American
made
things are made in America, are American made.
for American， 全部是 American 的 working man make American， 他认为
So
American first，
America
主要的
first.
是把美
All
国所有的利益
Americans
全部归于美国，
make American things.
在海外损失的那些
So
不需要再损失。
they should not
就
lose
是在海外的，要把所有的工商
anything
业
overseas
任何一个
because he
business
wants to bring
或
back
者是工业
all
或者
businesses
是任何
from
一种东西
overseas
全部回到美国来，由美
industries
国的工人来做。
to bring them back to America,
从
and
此也
all
海
would be
外没有
done
代
by
工
Americans.
美国的
No more
商品没有
labors
所谓
being
的代
done
工，
outside
全
of
部回到美
America.
国来做。
They're all
当美国
being
变成
brought back to America.
American first，
And to make America first, made for Americans.
他主要的还是美国第一，美国的利益第一。
So
在
he
海外他是
primarily
生意人嘛
focus
毕竟你什么
on the
他是生意
US
人，
first,
所以希望
America
他海
first,
外所有的
because
损
he
失
is a
的
businessman.
全部没有损失，全部回到
So
美
he
国来，
would
由美国的
he
工
bring
人来
back
做。
all the losses that America has
他的
overseas
主要的意
and
思还是这样
bring
子。
profits
看
back to
我
America.
看了，
Primarily, that's the essence of his speech.
他前世一定有修
And
古的
his
果
past lives, he must have practiced
为什么呢？
Guru Gule Buddha
办
Mata's
这个
Dharma. Why?
选美大会，世界选
Because
美大会，
uh,
所有的
in
美女
his
全部
in
世
the
界的
world
美女全部坐在他的周围。
beauty contest, all the beautiful
Yeah.
girls were sitting around him.
哎，他有这样子的世界选美，他是主角，只有他 one man and all lady。
Only
全部
he
是
is the
美女
man, and the rest are all ladies.
都坐在他的旁边。另外呢，我看到一个影片，有 four model，
And I saw another
four model 在
videos
他的四周，
with 4 beautiful models
他
around
一只
him,
手抱两个，这只手抱两个，
and
那
one arm hugging 2 of
手
them,
抱两个，那一只手
and the
抱
other
两个
arms hugging the other 2.
其实手很忙，连嘴巴都很忙。
Not only his hands are busy, his mouth, his lips are also busy.
哎，
So seeing that,
这样的人也能够当上 American president。
this kind of man can become American president. So why don't you use? You should also practice Guru Gule as soon as you can.
三位
What is it?
哦，你看，人家讲的是不错啊。师母刚刚讲，
Sumu just said,
50岁老当益壮，
at
60
50s
岁血压
you're
上
at your
升，
prime, and at
70
60s
岁偶尔
your blood
一样
pressure, you start to have
偶然一忘掉
hypertension.
讲
At that
西
7s,
医
I start to forget. And for Andy Lau, it's called it's CG.
好看 ABC，
I forgot
讲
everything.
刘德华的事情，为什么他能够那么旺？
It's CG is the
代言
brand of the toilet.
HCG 的大便桶跟小便桶，
Why?
甚至把他的照片
He's so
印在马
popular
桶上，
because
照
he
片印
is
在
the
马桶
rep
上，我看到
for
他的照片
this
印在马桶上
HCG toilets, and people place his
没有 good，
pictures on the toilets. So he smelled that
dirty
stinky smell,
他
dirty
那
smell.
个把他的相片印在马桶上，
So they print his pictures on the toilets, the
他
urinals
代言，
and the toilets,
有什么好
because
处？
he's the rep. And there's a benefit to this. If you put your photo in the toilets, then you will definitely eradicate your karma. So, because he has eradicated his karma, of course, then his faith is very good, his destiny, and he becomes very popular. So please put Grandmaster's pictures in your toilets. So there's no need to be afraid of it, like Andy Lau. So if you put Grandmaster's pictures there, then that's good for eradicating karma, and you become very sensational, hot and popular. Because his look is not as good as Master Lian Ya or Reverend Lian Zhen. They are both very tall and very handsome, and also very rich, because they have become monks. So which means they are very rich with Buddhist knowledge. So they are tall, handsome and rich. So a human being has his own faith and destiny, and where does it come from? You would know if you practice Gurukule Buddha Mother. It's time for dinner. Amitabha. Sorry. I will still need to expound on Lamdre. Gaining inner realization through the teachings of the Vajradhara kings and the start of the profound inner and outer spiritual path through the one-to-one transmissions, and Virupa with exact and concise teachings based on marvelous attainment. So the expounder of Lamdre praised first his own lineage root guru, and second is the patriarch, the lineage guru Virupa. And he praised him with the inner realization through the teachings of the Vajradhara kings. Lamdre is the same as if it was orally transmitted by Samantabhadra Tathagata, the Adi Buddha, the highest primordial Buddha, which is the King Vajradhara, which is the primordial Buddha. Inner realization. Virupa has spiritual cultivation of the inner state and the outer state. So the profound inner and outer spiritual practice through the one-to-one transmission. So the outer and inner tantra. And the transmission of 4 ears, which is one-to-one transmission. At that time, Dharma transmissions only involves 2 people. Not like today's world with webcasts, so many people listening at the same time. However, the true and most secret Dharma transmission is done from 1 to 1. Only involves 2 people. In Japanese, it's called Ikyuichi. Japanese man and Japanese lady. Professor Ye. What does Ikyuichi mean? It's one-to-one.
一带一记，带不是痛吗？
Itai is painful. Yeah.
我跟你讲吼，一带，阿达嘛一带，阿达嘛，滑累，気持ちいい。
Atama, I have headache. Oh, I feel
一个痛一
good.
个。
One through one.
我问你，痛是不是叫一带？
So
一
painful
带，
is
一
itai
带一
in
记就是
Japanese.
痛一个。我是乱翻的啦，
No, no, that's
他
not
讲
the
一带
right
一记。
translation.
我以前学日文，不是学日文啊，我父母在讲话，
Yes,
我
I
偷
was.
写。
I didn't really
爸爸
study
妈妈讲话的
Japanese,
时候
but
都
when
讲，
my
有时候
mom
讲
and
日
dad
文，
are speaking to each other, sometimes they
我
speak
听他们讲一
Japanese,
丢一记，
and I learn
什么
by
意思？
hearing them.
瓦嘎浪，
What is ikiuichi? You don't know?
人见瓦嘎浪。
You don't know it at all?
为什么讲一丢一记呢？
Why
我们以
did
前
they
常
say
常讲，
ikiuichi?
我爸爸妈妈跟我妈妈讲说一丢一记，就一个对一个啊。
Which means one-to-one.
啊，不管了，现在你们这个日文也全部都是改了啦。
Even the Japanese has changed.
这个一带一记就是一个对一个讲，
So
一个对一个。
one-to-one. Itaiichi.
就是一个跟一个讲，就是四
So
四
one
耳，
speaks to another
四耳
one.
传。
So that's the transmission
四
of
耳传？
four ears.
我祖师爷
So
传法给这个
the lineage
宝义
guru
童子，
transmitted
就一个对一
to
个讲，
the Baoyi
一个
youth
讲一个听，
or the
就是四个
precious
耳朵，
mind youth.
两个人就四个
So
耳朵，
one speaks,
就
the
是
other one listens.
两人同行。
And one person has
两人
two
同行。
ears, and two people
以前
have
古代
four
在传
ears.
法是一个对一个，
So in the ancient time, Dharma
非
transmissions
常的
involves
这个
one
非
to
常的
one,
谨慎，害怕的这个法
very
传给这个
serious,
大
because
不好
they're
的
afraid that they
所以他
transmit
挑
the
选出来
Dharma
以后呢，
to the
一个
wrong
对一个
people.
讲，
So after careful selection,
这
they
个叫一代
transmitted
传
one
日
to
本话
one.
啊，
In Japanese, it's
四
called
耳传
itaiji,
就是这个意思。什么是外
and that's
法？
what it means.
我
And
们
what
讲
is
释
the
迦
outer
就是外法，
Dharma? It's
本
like the
尊
four
也
preliminary
有外
practices.
也有内，
And the deity yoga or yidam
修
practice
气脉
involves
能
both
点
inner
就是
and
内，
outer. And if you
修
practice the
气
qi
修脉
channels and
修
light
明
drops,
就是
that's
内
the inner tantra or
这
inner
个解
dharma
释呢，
practice.
就是讲说，
So the
地瓦巴已
explanation
经证得了
said that
金刚
Virupa
持王所讲授的
has
地
attained
瓦巴的
what
外
was
法
taught
跟内
by
法
the Vajradhara
很
king,
深深的
and
缘起，
Virupa's inner
是
and
得
outer
到
dharma,
这个
and the
可以
most
讲金刚
profound
持王的四耳传。
affinity
四耳给他传授，也是秘密传授的。
was through the one-to-one transmission,
西
also the
经
secret
教授
transmission.
妙正毕瓦巴，就是称赞毕瓦巴。
So it praises
在
Virupa
威
with
德
exact
自
and
在之
concise
下
teachings based on
当
marvelous
弟子的
attainment.
是把他戴在他的头顶上面。
And
把
as the
毕瓦巴
disciples,
威德
we
自在
carry
顶
Virupa
在头上，
with majesty
那
and
个头面
carefreeness
顶礼
on top of
一样
our
用他的头
heads.
去触毕瓦巴的脚。
So he uses
这句话
head to
这是
touch
道
the feet of Virupa.
道
So this part is about Lamdre.
然后我们修密教要记得
So
什
in
么是
our
外法
tantric spiritual
外法
cultivation, we need to
都
remember
可以，
what
一般来讲外
are
法
considered the outer
都可以
tantra.
隔空摇灌。
And for the outer
内
tantra,
法
you
一定要
can
勤灌，
receive empowerments remotely.
内法一定
But
要
for the
勤灌，
inner tantra, you need to
那修
receive the
气脉
empowerments
能
in
点
person.
一定要勤灌，
So to practice the
这
qi,
是很重
the
要的。
channels and the light drops, you need to receive the empowerments
这个密
personally.
教的所谓
And in Mahayana Buddhism, we talk about the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. They are the three jewels or the three treasures. But in Tantrayana, the three treasures or the three jewels are the chi, channels, and light drops. The true three jewels. Gaining inner realization through the teachings of the Vajradhara king, and with the profound inner and outer affinity to the spiritual cultivation through one-to-one transmission, is Virupa, with exact and concise teachings based on marvelous attainment, and we carry him on our crown, Virupa, with majestic and carefreeness. We are like the dust beneath the feet of Virupa, because we regard ourselves as minuscule and Virupa as great and tremendous, like the Vajradhara king, as precious and great as the Vajradhara king. This is the verse to praise Virupa. It's time for dinner. A woman got out to play mahjong, and at midnight she got home and didn't want to wake her husband. She took all her clothes off at the living room. But little did she know that the husband woke up and was really shocked. Oh, geez, you lost everything? So the Buddha Dharma transmission, it's a very with the attainments of the inner and outer tantra. It's very difficult. Most people practicing tantra only have attainments in the outer tantra, but not in the inner tantra. So last night I went to Taoyuan to give blessings to Reverend Lian Fu, and just to care for her. And she told us that she was in a coma. And in deep coma, there was the score for coma, which is 3, and which the patient could barely be saved. And I knew at the critical moment, so I give her a blessing. And also there were many people prayed and recited mantra and sent the merits, the blessing to her. And in her coma, she saw half black and half white, and the emergence of Amitabha Buddha, huge and big Amitabha. And she couldn't recite Amitabha then. Even when she saw Amitabha, she couldn't recite. And then all of a sudden, there was a young child, a young child monk, and then knocking on the and said Namo Amitabha, 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 reciting Amitabha. Beating on the wooden fish and walk out. And then when she saw that, it's like now there were lots of little kids with monks. And then she copied and she recited Amitabha, Amitabha, Amitabha for a few times, and then she woke up from the coma.
莲福法师能够救回来，就凭他念的那几句佛，他就救回来。
So the fact that Reverend Lianfu could come back alive is because he recited that Amitabha a few times. It was already half black and half white. And then Amitabha appeared. And then the little child monk appeared. And then they were all lotus youth reciting Amitabha. And then she followed the chanting for a few times. And then she woke up. So that's very important. The yidam is very important. Amitabha is very important. The lineage root guru is very important.
你那个时候啊，你在昏迷当中能看到这个景象，你能够念佛念咒，你就会醒过来。
If in your coma, seeing that vision, you can recite Amitabha or recite mantra, then you can return to life. So that's the root of salvation. So in the coma, and you see a vision, and you see Amitabha, but you don't know to recite Amitabha until the little child appeared and recite Amitabha, and then you follow to chant it. That's to guide you to chant it. And then if you know to follow and chant, then you would be saved. So please remember, I'm telling you a secret today. If at the time of death you see the yidam that you often visualize, that you are often mindful of, and you can enter into his heart or recite his mantra or his name, then you can be reborn to the Buddha land. It is very crucial on that crucial moment. It depends on that crucial moment. That if you're in a coma, which her number was 3 already, and she could not chant Amitabha. And then, with the appearance of the child monk, and she followed the chanting of Amitabha only 3 times, and she was saved. So this is a very important formula. Om Mani Padme Hum.